Welcome to Breaking Frontiers.
The mind is a battlefield. Every day you wake up and face an internal war between the part of you that wants to push forward and the part that whispers doubt into your ear. And if you haven't trained yourself to fight that battle, you'll lose before you even step out of bed. See, most people don't realize that weakness isn't just a physical condition. It's a way of thinking. It's a habit of surrendering, giving up before you've even tried. And the reason people stay stuck, trapped in cycles of self-defeat, isn't because they lack the ability to change. It's because they've convinced themselves that they can't. You tell yourself you're not strong enough, not smart enough, not lucky enough. You see obstacles and think this is just too much for me. But let me ask you, who told you that? Where did that voice come from? Was it a failure from your past? Was it the people around you poisoning your mind with their own limitations? Or was it simply easier to believe that you're powerless than to face the terrifying reality that you are responsible for your own transformation? You must understand something fundamental. The way you think shapes the way you live. Your thoughts dictate your actions, and your actions determine your future. If you constantly tell yourself that you're a victim of your circumstances, then you'll act like a victim. And victims don't fight back. They don't rise above. They stay where they are, convinced that life is happening to them instead of realizing that they have the power to shape it. The first step toward training your mind to overcome anything is recognizing that you are in control of the narrative you tell yourself. You have to start rewiring your mind, reprogramming it, so that it no longer defaults to weakness. That doesn't mean lying to yourself. It doesn't mean pretending that everything is easy. No, it means forcing yourself to see obstacles differently. It means looking at every challenge and saying, this is an opportunity to grow stronger. When you hit a setback, your instinct might be to complain, to feel sorry for yourself. But what if instead you trained yourself to see it as a test, a moment designed to see what you're truly made of? What if every moment of pain was actually a chance to become something greater? That's how you have to start thinking. Not as someone being crushed by life, but as someone being forged by it. And this isn't just some abstract philosophy. It's a discipline. It's something you train, just like you would train your body. When you lift weights, your muscles tear and rebuild, growing stronger over time. Your mind works the same way. The more you force yourself to adopt this mindset, to push through resistance instead of retreating, the stronger it gets. But here's the problem. Most people never even try. They feel a little discomfort and immediately seek an escape. They distract themselves with entertainment, addictions, or mindless routines just to avoid facing the struggle head on. And that is the biggest tragedy of all, because every time you run from hardship, you're reinforcing the belief that you can't handle it. You're training yourself to be weak. If you want to change your life, you have to take control of your mind. You have to start filtering out the thoughts that make you weak and replacing them with thoughts that make you strong. That means you need to be extremely careful about what you allow into your mind, what you listen to, what you watch, who you surround yourself with, because whether you realize it or not, these things are shaping you every single day. You need to surround yourself with voices that challenge you, push you, force you to become better. You need to seek out hardship, lean into discomfort, and make struggle your ally instead of your enemy. Because the truth is, you will face suffering in this life. You will experience hardship. But the question is, when that moment comes, will your mind be strong enough to endure? Most people live their entire lives avoiding the work it takes to build that kind of mental resilience. They hope life will be easy, that the struggles will pass, that maybe one day things will just magically fall into place. But that day never comes, because the only way to build an unshakable mind is to go through the fire willingly. So when you wake up tomorrow, don't let your first thought be one of weakness. Don't tell yourself you're tired, that you don't feel like pushing forward. Instead, take control. The moment your eyes open, tell yourself, I am strong, I am capable, I am in control, and then prove it. Because once you rewire your mind to see every challenge as an opportunity, once you decide that nothing can break you, there is absolutely nothing in this world that will, discipline is the foundation of strength. It's what separates those who succeed from those who stay trapped in the same cycles of failure, because the truth is, if you rely on motivation to carry you through life, you're already setting yourself up for defeat. Motivation is fleeting. It comes and goes like the wind, unpredictable, unreliable. Some days you wake up feeling energized, ready to take on the world. Other days you feel drained, uninspired, completely disconnected from the goals you swore you cared about. And if you let those feelings dictate your actions, you'll never build anything of substance. That's why discipline is superior to emotion, because emotions are temporary. They are affected by circumstances, by sleep, by stress, by things completely outside your control. But discipline, that is a choice, a commitment, a way of structuring your life so that your actions are no longer dependent on how you feel in any given moment. You get up and do what needs to be done, not because you want to, but because you must, because you made a commitment to yourself, and your word is the foundation of your integrity. Most people don't live this way. Most people are ruled by their emotions. They let their feelings dictate their actions, and as a result, their lives are chaotic, inconsistent, directionless. They set goals but never follow through. They start projects with enthusiasm but abandon them the moment things become difficult. They tell themselves they'll get serious tomorrow, next week, next year, and of course, that day never comes. Because discipline isn't something you wake up with one day. It's something you build, brick by brick, habit by habit, through daily repetition until it becomes a part of who you are. The problem is that most people don't want to hear this. They want the shortcut, the hack, the quick fix that allows them to achieve success without struggle. But that doesn't exist. There is no replacement for discipline. There is no version of greatness that doesn't require sacrifice. And deep down, you know this. You know that anything worth having requires effort. The problem is your emotions get in the way. You get tired, you get frustrated, you feel like quitting. And instead of pushing through, you listen to those feelings as if they are instructions rather than just passing sensations. But what if you stopped doing that? What if instead of indulging every moment of weakness, you trained yourself to act despite how you feel? What if you made the decision that no matter what, you would show up and put in the work whether you felt like it or not? That is what separates those who achieve from those who don't. It's not talent, it's not luck, it's not some mystical force. It's simply the ability to override feelings with action. And here's the reality, you can train yourself to do this. Every time you push through discomfort instead of giving in, you are strengthening the part of you that is disciplined. Every time you reject the voice that says, take it easy, or you can skip today, you are reinforcing a different voice. The one that says, I do what I say I'm going to do, no excuses. And over time, that voice becomes louder, stronger. It becomes your default state until eventually discipline is no longer something you have to think about. It's just who you are. But make no mistake, this transformation does not happen overnight. You will be tested. You will wake up exhausted some days. You will feel unmotivated, uninspired, completely unwilling to move forward. And in those moments, you will have a choice. Give in to the weakness or prove to yourself that you are stronger than your emotion. And that moment, that single moment where you decide to act despite your feelings, is where true power is built. Because the person who can master discipline can achieve anything. There is no obstacle that can stop you when you have trained yourself to act regardless of how you feel. No amount of failure, no setback, no temporary defeat can break you, because you don't rely on external motivation. You rely on yourself, on your commitment, on the foundation you've built through consistency and effort. So from this moment forward, make the decision that you will no longer be ruled by your emotions, that when you feel like quitting, you will push forward anyway, that when you don't feel like doing the work, you will do it regardless. Because if you can master discipline, there is nothing in this world that will ever be able to master you. There are chains on your mind, whether you realize it or not. They've been there for years, formed by your past experiences, by the voices of others, by the beliefs you've absorbed without question. And the thing about chains is that they don't always feel like chains. Sometimes they feel comfortable, familiar. You don't even notice them because they become part of the way you live, the way you think. But they are there, keeping you small, holding you back, stopping you from becoming what you could be. And if you never stop to examine them, you will live your entire life trapped inside a prison of your own making. A prison where fear dictates your choices, where self-doubt stops you before you even begin, where you convince yourself that you are powerless because that's easier than facing the responsibility of true freedom. Because real freedom is terrifying. It means there is no one else to blame. It means the excuses you've leaned on for years no longer hold any weight. It means that if you fail, it's because you didn't do what was necessary. Most people aren't willing to face that reality. They would rather stay in their comfortable chains than experience the discomfort of true self-awareness. So they settle. They accept the limits imposed on them by others, by society, by their own unwillingness to fight for something more. And then they convince themselves that this is just how life is, that this is just the way things have to be. But that is a lie. A lie designed to keep you compliant, to keep you weak, to keep you in the exact same place you've always been. You don't have to live that way. You shouldn't live that way. But breaking free from those chains is not easy. It requires something from you, something most people are unwilling to give. It requires absolute honesty, brutal, unfiltered self-examination. You need to sit down and ask yourself, what is holding me back? What beliefs am I carrying that are limiting me? What voices from my past still have power over me? Maybe it's the voice of a parent who told you that you would never amount to anything. Maybe it's the ridicule of your peers when you tried and failed. Maybe it's your own mind whispering to you every day that you are not enough. But here's the truth. You are enough. You always have been. The only difference between you and the person you could be is the weight of those chains you refuse to remove. And the only way to remove them is through action. You have to challenge your own beliefs. You have to put yourself in situations where your fears are confronted, where your doubts are proven wrong, where you force yourself to grow whether you like it or not. It will be uncomfortable, it will be painful, because breaking free from mental chains is not just about thinking differently, it's about becoming different. And that requires change, that requires sacrifice. It requires letting go of the things that are keeping you weak, no matter how familiar they may be. And this is where most people fail. Because they say they want change, but they don't want to let go of the things that are keeping them in chains. They don't want to leave behind the negative relationships that drain them. They don't want to cut off the distractions that keep them from progress. They don't want to give up the habits that provide comfort but no real growth. So they stay exactly where they are, waiting for something external to free them. But nothing is coming to save you. No one is going to come into your life and suddenly remove all of your struggles, all of your fears, all of your doubts. That is your job. That is your responsibility. And the moment you take ownership of that, the moment you decide that you will no longer be ruled by the past, by fear, by limitation, that is the moment everything changes. That is the moment you stop being a prisoner and start being something far more dangerous to the forces that want to keep you weak. You become free, truly free. Not because the challenges disappear, but because they no longer control you. And once you reach that place, nothing can stop you. Because a person who has broken free from their own mind is the most unstoppable force on this planet. Pain is not the enemy. Struggle is not something to be avoided. Yet, this is what most people spend their entire lives doing. Running, avoiding, distracting themselves from the very thing that has the power to transform them. They convince themselves that if they can just navigate around the hardship, if they can somehow bypass the suffering, life will become easier. But that's not how reality works. You don't become stronger by avoiding struggle. You don't build resilience by staying comfortable. You grow through confrontation, by standing face to face with the very thing you fear and refusing to back down. Every person who has ever accomplished anything worthwhile has had to endure suffering. They have had to face moments where quitting seemed like the only logical option. They have had to sit with doubt, with pain, with overwhelming pressure, and choose to keep moving forward anyway. Because that is the price of strength. That is the cost of becoming something more than you were yesterday. But most people don't want to pay that price. They don't want to feel discomfort. They don't want to push through fatigue, rejection, or failure. So they stop, they settle for what is easy, what is familiar. And in doing so, they never realize what they could have been. You have to understand something. There is no version of life where you avoid It is inevitable. You can either experience the pain of discipline, of growth, of facing your struggles head on, or you can suffer the pain of regret, of stagnation, of looking back one day and realizing you wasted your potential because you were too afraid to fight for something greater. One form of pain leads to strength. The other leads to a slow, quiet destruction of everything you were meant to become. So the choice is not whether or not you will suffer. The choice is what you will suffer for. Will you endure hardship for the sake of growth, or will you let hardship crush you because you refuse to engage with it? Because that's the difference between the strong and the weak. The weak allow suffering to define them, to dictate their actions, to convince them that life is unfair, that they are victims. The strong use their suffering, they harness it. They take every ounce of pain and turn it into something meaningful. And this isn't just some abstract philosophy, it's a daily practice. It's a decision you have to make every single day when things don't go your way, when life throws obstacles in your path, when you feel like you have nothing left. What will you do? Will you collapse under the weight of it all? Or will you stand up, grit your teeth, and push forward anyway? Because that's where real transformation happens. Not when things are easy, not when you're comfortable, but in the moments where you feel broken and yet refuse to break. Most people never push themselves far enough to see what they are truly capable of. The moment things get tough, they retreat. They tell themselves they weren't meant for this, that it's too hard, that maybe they should just accept their circumstances. But what if, instead of running, you leaned into the struggle? What if you saw every challenge as an opportunity to become stronger? Because that's exactly what it is. Every hardship, every failure, every painful moment is a test, an opportunity to prove to yourself that you are not as weak as you once thought. And if you can adopt that mindset, if you can train yourself to embrace struggle instead of fearing it, you become unstoppable. Because once you no longer fear pain, nothing can control you. Fear loses its power. Failure becomes just another stepping stone. And you realize that most of the limits you once believed in were nothing more than illusions, mental constructs designed to keep you in place. But breaking through that requires courage. It requires an unshakable commitment to facing reality as it is, not as you wish it would be. And reality is brutal. Life will test you. It will break you down to your core. It will demand everything from you. And in those moments, when you are exhausted, when you feel lost, when the weight of it all seems unbearable, you must remember one thing. Pain is temporary, but the strength you gain from enduring it will last forever. There is something within you that is deeper than thought, deeper than reason, deeper than anything you can fully articulate. It's the foundation upon which everything else in your life is built, whether you realize it or not. And if that foundation is weak, if it is unstable, uncertain, fragile, then everything else in your life will eventually crumble. Because life will test you. It will push you to the brink. It will strip away your comforts, throw you into chaos, and force you to confront the reality of your own limitations. And if you have nothing deeper to hold on to, nothing greater than yourself to anchor you, you will be lost. People talk about strength as if it's just a matter of willpower, as if you can simply force yourself through every challenge by sheer determination alone. And while willpower is important, it is not enough. Because no matter how strong you think you are, there will come a moment when life will bring you to your knees, when everything you built starts to collapse, when the weight of suffering feels unbearable. And in that moment, you will realize that strength is not just about pushing harder, it's about what you are rooted in. Most people are not rooted in anything. They are drifting, reacting to life as it happens, hoping that things will somehow work out. They have no deeper sense of purpose, no guiding principle, no connection to something beyond themselves. And because of that, they are fragile, easily shaken, easily discouraged. The smallest setback sends them spiraling. The slightest resistance makes them quit. And so they search for meaning in all the wrong places. They distract themselves with pleasure, with success, with status, hoping that if they just achieve enough, they will finally feel whole. But it never works, because external achievement cannot replace internal stability. If you want to be truly strong, unbreakable, immovable, you must build your foundation on something greater than yourself, something that does not waver, something that is not dependent on circumstance. call it faith, call it truth, call it a connection to the deeper order of reality, whatever it is, you need it. You need to know beyond any doubt that there is meaning in your suffering, that there is purpose in your struggles, that what you endure is not in vain. Without that, pain is just pain. Struggle is just struggle. And eventually you will break under the weight of it all. But when you have that foundation, everything changes. Because now suffering is not just something to endure, it is something to learn from. Now, challenges are not just obstacles, they are opportunities to grow. Now, failure does not define you, it refines you. You become grounded in something unshakable, something that cannot be taken from you no matter how hard life tries. And when you have that, you cannot be defeated. Building this foundation is not easy. It requires discipline. It requires self-reflection. It requires a willingness to ask hard questions and to wrestle with difficult truths. It requires time spent in solitude, in contemplation, in the pursuit of something beyond the immediate distractions of daily life. And above all, it requires the humility to recognize that you are not the center of the universe, that there is something greater than you, something worth serving, something worth striving toward. And this is what people often misunderstand. They think strength is about control, about forcing life to bend to their will, but real strength is not about control. It is about surrendering to the deeper order of things. It is about recognizing that you are part of something vast, something intricate, something meaningful beyond comprehension. And once you accept that, once you align yourself with it, you find a strength that is not just yours, it is something that flows through you. Because the person who has built an unbreakable spiritual foundation is not swayed by circumstance. They do not crumble in the face of hardship. They do not retreat when life becomes difficult. They stand firm no matter the storm because they are rooted in something eternal. And when you reach that place, when you know beyond doubt that your struggles have meaning, that your life has purpose, that every challenge is shaping you into something greater, you become unstoppable. You can have the best intentions, the strongest beliefs, the deepest understanding of your own mind, but if you do not act, none of it matters. Too many people spend their lives waiting for the right time, the right conditions, the right version of themselves to show up before they begin. But the truth is, waiting is just another form of avoidance. It is fear disguised as logic. It is hesitation masquerading as preparation. And it is the single greatest thief of potential. Action is what separates those who could be great from those who are great. The ones who rise above, who transform their lives, who overcome the odds. These are not necessarily the smartest or the most talented. They are the ones who refused to wait. They are the ones who moved forward, despite their fear, despite their uncertainty, despite every excuse telling them to stop. Because excuses are easy. Anyone can find a reason why today isn't the right day, why they aren't ready yet, why they need just a little more time. But every day spent making excuses is a day stolen from the person you could have been. Relentless action does not mean reckless action. It means disciplined, focused movement toward what you know must be done. It means doing what is necessary, not just what is comfortable. It means refusing to let fear dictate your choices. And the moment you commit to that, the moment you stop waiting and start moving, is the moment you realize that you are capable of far more than you ever imagined. The path to strength, to resilience, to true mastery over your own life is not an easy one. It demands everything from you. Your discipline, your courage, your willingness to endure suffering without retreat. It demands that you rewire your mindset, that you take control of your emotions instead of being ruled by them, that you break free from the mental chains that have kept you small. It demands that you stand in the fire of pain and struggle without flinching, that you root yourself in something greater than yourself, and that you take relentless action, refusing to be paralyzed by doubt, fear, or excuses. This is not just about success. It is not about momentary achievement or fleeting motivation. It is about becoming the kind of person who cannot be broken, who stands firm when others fall, who persists when others give up, who builds a life of meaning and purpose regardless of the obstacles in their way. That is what is at stake here. Not comfort, not ease, but the ability to look at yourself in the mirror and know that you did not shrink away from the challenge, that you did not betray your potential, that when life demanded more of you, you rose to meet it. And if you can do that, if you can embrace the struggle, sharpen your mind, and commit yourself fully to the pursuit of strength, there is nothing you cannot overcome, nothing that can truly stop you. Because a person who has trained their mind to face anything